What Obama has done with the debt is he put together this debt commission. He says, what are we going to do? You know, we're broke. Well, Social Security has nothing to do with the debt. And Social Security is solvent for at least 25 more years. And then it'll be able to pay 70% of benefits forever. There is no Social Security crisis. Well, actually, there is. Let me tell you what the Social Security crisis is. And this is the story that you're not going to hear on Sean Hannity's show. You're not going to hear Limbaugh talking about this. You're not going to hear even NPR talking about this. You're not going to hear anybody who is the dog being wagged by the tail of billionaires talking about this. You probably won't even hear about this on the television networks that purport to be progressive. Here's the real crisis in Social Security. That crisis is that there are a couple 100,000 people in this country who make so much money, who make tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars a year, literally make so much money that if they paid Social Security tax on it the same as a fireman or a policeman or a teacher or you or me pay on it, if you're making less than $100, I think it's $6,000 a year right now. If you're making less than $106,000 a year, every single penny you earn, you pay Social Security tax on. And your employer matches. You're paying about 6 and change, as I recall, and your employer's paying 6 and change. It's total about 13%. Of every single penny up to $100 and some odd thousand dollars, 106, 107, 100, and it changes every year, and I can never keep track of them all, but it's in that neighborhood. After that, if you're making enough money that you're making more than $106,000 a year, you know how much money you pay in Social Security tax? Nothing. Not a penny. You make $200,000 a year, you got $97,000, $90,000 and change that you pay no Social Security tax on at all. You get a gift of an extra 13%. You make $500,000 a year, you got $390,000 on which you're paying no Social Security tax. You get an extra 13%. You make $1 million a year, you've got about $900,000 a year on which you're paying no Social Security tax. If you're like John Paulson and you make $4.6 billion a year, $4,600 million a year, $1 million, 4,600 times in 1 year, you pay Social Security tax on that $4.6 billion. You pay absolutely no Social Security tax on $4,599,900,000 of it. You get a 13% bonus. John Paulson got a 13% bonus. You have to pay it. I have to pay it. The guy working on the street out there filling the pothole has to pay it. But John Paulson, he doesn't pay it. Stephen Hemsley, he doesn't pay it. Jamie Dimon, he doesn't pay it. The heads of Citibank, the heads of Goldman, they don't pay it. That's the crisis in Social Security. The talking heads on TV who are making $1 million, $2 million, $5 million a year, $10 million a year, $20 million a year, they're not paying Social Security tax on anything except the first $100,000. They're getting a 13% bonus on the rest. That's the crisis in Social Security that they don't want you to know about. What they don't want you to know is that if Social Security tax works the way income tax works, which is everybody pays it, then not only would Social Security be solvent forever, but you could literally, and two different think tanks have done the math on this, a conservative one, a progressive one, and they agree on it, although the conservative one thinks it would be terrible policy and it would destroy America. But if the billionaires paid the same Social Security tax on every penny of their billions that they make as the guy out in front of my building right now who's digging up the road pays on every penny that he earns, you could double Social Security payments tomorrow. Americans could actually retire on Social Security and have enough money to maybe even take a vacation once a year. It would stimulate the economy massively, and there would be no problem with Social Security ever. Ever. And that's the conversation they don't want us to have. So they'll talk about everything else. Oh, we got $40 trillion in debt going out 100 years. Well, that $40 trillion hole, that would be fixed if you simply did away with the cap. It's called lift the cap. But I'll bet you, and I don't know how to make a bet with 3 million people all at once with my listening and viewing audience. I don't know how to do it. But I'll bet you that when this commission comes out with their recommendations, number one, that is not one of the things that they will recommend. It's not even one of the things that they will submit as a consideration. Because my guess is that the vast majority of the people on this commission are not paying Social Security taxes on much of their income, if not most of their income. Bet number one. And bet number two, I'll bet you that President Obama, who knows that if he's going to get reelected in 2012, he's going to have to get a lot of money from a lot of people who are not paying Social Security taxes right now and very much would not like to pay that 13%. I mean, look at the blowback that he's getting right now on talking about letting a 3% tax break on millionaires and billionaires expire. 3%, that was Bush's tax cut. He dropped the top marginal rate from 39 down to 36%. 3%. And these guys are willing to go to the mat over this. To the point that Obama is already backing up and going, well, maybe for a year or two we can extend the Bush tax cuts. That 3%. Do you really think that those people, that the lobbyists down here on K Street who start out at $300,000 a year, if they're a former member of Congress, they start out at $900,000 a year to $1.5, if they were formerly a senator, Chris Dodd will probably start out at $2 million a year next year. If he starts at $2 million a year, then $1,900,000 of his income, he's not paying 13% Social Security on. Do you really think that those people are going to say to the president and to elected members of Congress, yeah, sure, go ahead, raise our taxes by 13%. Look at the screaming, the stuck pig squealing coming out of people like Rush Limbaugh. He's got a $400 million contract. On $400 million in income, he pays Social Security taxes on he pays no Social Security tax. He gets a 13% subsidy from you and me on $399,900,000 of his income. And he's squealing like a stuck pig about having his income tax raised by 3% on that $400 million. Can you imagine the noises he'll make if somebody comes along like the President of the United States and says, let's raise Limbaugh's taxes by 13% on the $399,900,000 a year on which he pays no Social Security tax? Assuming that it's actually true that he makes $400 million a year, I think that I'm guessing that number's wildly inflated for PR purposes. Hannity's $200 million a year, Beck's $30 million a year. These guys are probably all making a fraction of that, but nonetheless, they're making millions. And they're not paying Social Security taxes on it. That's the Social Security crisis in this country. And because we have right now the finest government that money can buy, and the money is in the hands of people who are not paying Social Security taxes, the Social Security crisis that's going to be talked about by the talking heads on TV, mark my words, is not going to be the fact that most of those talking heads on TV are not paying Social Security tax on most of their income.
You're listening to the Tom Hartman Program. Visit TomHartman.com for audio and video archives.